Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Welcome to the Saturday edition of Let's Talk with me, Julie Alli. Please stay with me till 10 o'clock. Lots of interesting interviews coming your way. Justin Jacobs is going to talk youth empowerment, and then we'll be talking to Dr. Valdoleros. He is here all the way from Bloemfontein to talk about colds, flus, viruses, and more importantly, the coronavirus, which has the whole world shivering and shaking, literally. And we've just heard that the World Health Organization has classed it as a pandemic. But first up, all the fun stuff, but with a very, very important social message. We're going to be talking the cook-off with Nadia Kassim from Irtika magazine. She's also joined by the lovely Tasneem Jadwat and Mehnaz Nanak. But let's first take a look at this advert, which will make lots of sense to us when we get talking on the cook-off. Welcome back, and let me introduce you to the lovely ladies in studio with me. Tasneem Jadwat and Nadia Kassim. She is from Irtika magazine. Assalamu alaikum, welcome to the program.
Wa alaikum salam, Julie. Thank you for having us.
Alaikum salam.
Nice to have you guys here, and I do want to touch a little bit on Irtika, and then let's talk also about the advert that we've just watched now. In 2012, you launched something called Irtika magazine. We have talked with you about it on the show. Alhamdulillah, I'd like to think that it's going really very well and has changed perceptions as far as the view on Muslim women and girls are concerned.
Yes, Julia, I think it has definitely changed over the years, evolved, like its name, Irtika, evolution. And I think that we're tapping into a different type of market now, especially on social media. So we've moved away from just being a web-based magazine to something that's on Facebook and on Instagram. So we are able to reach a wider audience and, yeah, a niche market, I guess, for women who think more progressively.
Alhamdulillah. We are in the fourth industrial revolution, and I keep bringing this up with different guests about being digital. You know, we're consuming news differently, digitally, etc. How does that impact on the sales of your magazine, or are you going that route as well? And also, what about other players in the market as far as Muslim women's magazines are concerned?
Look, my magazine initially was a physical magazine, and then I realized in 2013 that things were moving digitally, and that's when I created the website. My magazine is free at the moment online.
Oh, wow.
So all the articles that come up, people can access it, and that's the whole idea. It's about empowering, it's about educating, and in terms of my competitors, I think there's a space for everybody, you know, out there. Everybody got their own niche market, everybody got their own audience. So I'm also proud of them as well, you know, because all of us together, we contribute something and we appeal to different people.
Yeah. So your magazine's not available in print form at all?
No.
You've got to go to the
online.
web.
Yes.
Okay, brilliant. And do you kind of know how many hits you have
Yes.
per month? Or
yeah, last year for an annual visitor count, new visitors, it was 44,000.
Wow.
So it's growing continuously. The year before it was at about 37,000. So as the years are progressing, it's obviously that we are doing something right because people are tapping into it, and it's a global audience. It's not just South African readership.
And even though it's a global audience, do you find that you are appealing to the global Muslimah, not only the South African Muslimah?
Oh, definitely, definitely. I think if you look at the countries that visit the site, you can see behind the scenes, the UK, the US. We do have some hits from India as well, although most of our readership is in South Africa, Cape Town and Johannesburg.
MashaAllah, and may you grow from strength to strength. We're here to talk about a huge event called the Cook-Off, which you initiated last year.
Yes.
Before we get to the nitty-gritty of the Cook-Off, let's talk about the opening advert. You have something interesting to share with us.
Yeah, the ad basically launched the whole cook-off. So we launched it on Monday, 24th of Feb. It's there to encourage people to get involved, for charity, for orphans and vulnerable children. So we had all the people that act, all the kids and the ladies that act in this video are part of the cook-off. The children are the child ambassadors, the women are the judges. And the video was put together by a very talented young gentleman called Noman Hazavi. And yeah, he worked against the odds. We had load shedding throughout the day, and he managed to put together a very beautiful product for us.
MashaAllah. Now, Tasneem, salam alaikum, welcome. Congratulations. I believe you were the winner last year.
It's exactly 1 year, yeah.
What was the process like, and did you ever imagine that you'd walk off with that prize?
No, I didn't. But, when Nadia advertised it at first, it was a competition that just appealed to us. So she's put her heart and soul in this competition. That's what I can guarantee you. And it was so appealing that, I couldn't say no. And the fact that you could donate the money to a charity of your choice, it meant so much. So you knew you were cooking for a cause. And with social media, you can use it for the best way possible. You can use it in a positive light, and you can make a difference in the world. For me personally, it was changing mindsets when it came to kids with rare diseases, because my own daughter has a rare disease.
Absolutely. And alhamdulillah, you were here a little while ago on iTrend with Zahira talking about your daughter's condition.
Yes.
And we'd like to invite you back again in a future program to just see what progress has been made. Back to the cook-off. What was so special about your dish that you managed to walk off with first prize?
So the final challenge set by our bake-off great Nasreen Chamda, who's amazing in our community, such an influence. She set a challenge of turning a savory dish into a dessert, and she used curry khichdi and turned it into a fancy ice cream. And we had to use molecular gastronomy. So it's not just a basic competition. It was very, very technical and mind-boggling, but the challenges were all so exciting. And that final challenge I did, kause, the classic kause dessert, food that we all eat, the soup and pasta. I turned that into a dessert. So I made pasta from like a Faluda pasta. And then we did a little tuile, and we had the froth, and we tried to bring in as many molecular gastronomy elements as possible.
How many attempts did you have to work on in terms of getting the final product just right?
So I did it must be about 20 times, 30 times, I don't know. But I got everybody in the family to taste. I was in Durban as well during the competition. So when the final challenge was set, I got my dad to taste. I got my cousin who I know loves ice cream. I said, no, you have to come in. I have to taste this and see if it's right. And alhamdulillah, it actually all worked out together.
I'm trying to marry the two, savory with sweet. So you've got the concept of kause,
yes,
which you've turned into a dessert. What is it just about the look of the dish, but the taste has to be sweet? Just explain that to me.
So it has to have a savory element. But it must be a dessert. So when you present it to the judges, it must be a dessert. And you have to use molecular gastronomy.
Okay.
So molecular gastronomy is basically food science. So I got these fish tubes and injections, the syringes and
the hot
powder.
ice and all of that.
I didn't use hot ice in mine. I think
Okay.
Raisa used hot
I
ice.
think you
Yeah,
used it in your presentation.
I used it in the presentation, to give
So
it
when
the
we came in,
effect. Yeah.
she had all of this, bubbling thing going on.
A feast for the eyes as
Oh my
well.
word, it was so, so beautiful.
Let me understand, what was the savory element that you brought into the dish?
So the kause itself, I made a classic kause soup and then converted that into an ice cream. So it was kause, but kause ice cream basically. And then I did Tabasco caviar balls,
Right.
which are jelly. You use
So you get a
jellification
sweet,
for
savory taste. in the-
sweet savory. So there was an element of hot as well. Nasreen actually screamed at one point.
Okay.
She had it on its own. Yeah.
How frustrating or challenging has it been? And when you were told that you'd won first prize, what does that say to you? Is the world your oyster now?
It wasn't frustrating to say. It was very challenging, and it pushes your mind to do new things. And when the winner was announced, I was quite surprised because Raisa did so well. She did a cheesecake, and it was exciting because I knew I was making a difference in the world as well.
Wow,
So,
okay.
alhamdulillah.
We're going to go for our first ad break and we'll have to say goodbye to you. But what's the best piece of advice you can give to all the other entrants in this year's competition?
Go for it, and you guys can do it, and you can make a difference in the world. Use social media, use this cook-off as to set an example. Make a difference in not just for your religion and your community, but your personal self as well. It's such a good initiative.
Put Muslimas on the map. How much money did you donate to your favorite charity from your winnings?
It was 10,000.
It was
Yeah.
10,000, and then
10,000,
she was so kind, she donated
Supposed to tell them it.
the 2,000, which was meant for her, she added it onto that.
MashaAllah, that's wonderful. May Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala reward you for your efforts. Thank you indeed for being with us. I'm just a bit sad that you guys didn't bring in the stuff for us to taste.
Next time, inshallah.
But you guys owe us. Shukran very much and all the very best. And you're going to be one of the judges on the
Definitely.
on the current cook-off.
Yes.
You excited about that?
Very excited. We've got lots in store for you.
There you have it. Exciting times for all you foodies, and I think that you need to give it a shot as well. Who knows, you can walk off with the first prize and donate your winnings to a very, very worthy cause. We're talking the charity bake-off with Nadia Kassim, and next in studio is Mahnaz Nanuk. I've been told she is an excellent baker. Pity she didn't bring any of the stuff in studio for us to judge and to actually confirm that she is an excellent baker, but she's promised to send some for us to taste next time around. Congratulations, I believe you're one of the judges on the cook-off.
Yes, I am.
You were last year and you are again this year.
Yes.
So what was the challenge that you set last year, and did the ladies live up to the challenge?
Oh yes, I think they lived beyond what I actually expected them to do. I set a cupcake challenge and I asked them to use different methods of piping buttercream onto the cakes, yeah.
And what sort of results did you get?
Excellent, much better than what we were expecting.
Yeah, definitely.
Give us some examples.
Well, Tasneem did. She set hers out in a basket. She she piped flowers and she placed her cupcakes in a basket, so it looked like a basket full of flowers. Raisa also did piping on a full cake. I think she found that a bit difficult.
Raisa was the runner.
Yes, Raisa was the runner-up. She also did a fantastic job with her piping skills.
Okay, back to you then, Nadia, and let's talk about what's different about this year's cook-off to last year. And I guess you need to bring a different fun element or an interesting element to get people hooked in. I mean, being part of the cook-off in itself is something huge. It's a feat. But you want to kind of just inspire and make it as interesting as possible. So what have you done?
Yes. Okay, so this year, last year it was just for adults. This year it's cook with a child.
Oh, wow.
So all the money that's been raised, so we've raised 11,000 Rand already through our sponsors for Islamic Relief and Orphans and Vulnerable Children, all the initiatives. So this year we thought, look, let's get children involved because they also it will create a sense of social responsibility with them as well. Get them in the kitchen, involved with their parents to cook for other children.
Wow, okay. You've talked about the child element, and just imagine the bonding that happens in a situation like that.
Definitely.
Now, we have Mehnaz in studio, but I understand you have a few other judges as well.
Yes.
Who are they? Do they necessarily have to come with a very strong food background?
Yes, they do. I think having food knowledge enables them to also judge the dishes as well as set appropriate dishes. So we have Shubnam Khan, she's from Cupcakes and Calculators. And we have Nasreen Chamda, she was the judge from last year as well. She set the
And she
final
was also
challenge.
contestant on the Great South African Bake Off.
Yes, yes. So she comes with that level as well of skill. And then obviously you met Tasneem, and then it's Mehnaz. And who else do we have?
Raisa.
And Raisa. Raisa was the runner-up last year.
Okay. Going forward, or is it too early to share the information with me? What sort of challenges are we looking at for the current cook-off?
Well, we each have different challenges.
Right.
Mine is obviously based on either
baking.
Yeah, like maybe cake or, you know, I don't know.
Something that's more, we can't let the cat out the bag because hers is exceptionally fun,
Yes.
right? But basically all of them have to set something which also appeals to children. So the judges have to now use their imagination. It's not, we have to understand there's a certain level of skill that kids carry as well, and parents as well. So make it middle of the way in terms of difficulty, something that will get the kids excited to.
I feel like kids, like they believe they can achieve anything.
Absolutely, in their innocence,
yes,
and we are the
exactly.
ones who stifle them.
That is it. So I'm excited to see what they come up with. I think it is going to be very exciting. I think the challenge I'm going to set is gonna, give them a lot to think about.
I think the one thing that I find challenging with this cook-off, and maybe it's because I'm not a cook or a baker by any means, but it's an online challenge. How do you actually confirm that the people that have baked or cooked the stuff have actually done so, and you are not there physically to taste the stuff? You only do that in the finals. So how does that process work? Because I could cheat if I wanted to.
So all the challenges have to be met through vlogging. So they need to create videos where they show themselves cooking the various
step by step.
Yes. So you can't also get away with that. I mean, you're in the kitchen, your face is to it. We actually seen you making it, so forth. You upload your vlog, you upload then your recipe and the picture of your final dish. And we ask the public now and then, please try this recipe and give us a review of it. And so it's all run on Instagram.
And the judges know which challenges they're setting, so they know how to judge on each one. I think I judged mine on the visual aspect of it last year because I wanted to know that the presentation was good, the piping was,
perfect.
Yeah.
and if I may just add, Julie, I think last year's finalists proved to us that our judging process was actually spot on.
Wow.
Because when we tasted their dishes, I mean, it was fabulous.
It was mind-blowing.
And so I think when we got to those two finalists, I think we made the right decision as well.
So when you get to the finalists, you actually go to their homes,
Yes,
and on that day, they then prepare the food in your presence so that you do the visual testing and the tasting as well,
Yes.
to then score them.
Yes.
What is the steps involved in becoming a contestant on this cook-off? And I'm just wondering about the challenges being online, or is that the way the world is moving?
Yeah, so the whole thing, that's the beauty about it. If you can live anywhere in South Africa and you can enter this competition and you can contribute. So your 200 Rand entry fee goes straight to charity. Our theme for entry is Batter Cake, Bake Me A. And that means that you can bake anything that you want. At least one element on your dish must be baked. You upload on your Instagram page, so the adult has to upload it through their page.
Is that the first step?
Yes. That's how you get into the competition. You upload your picture of your recipe, the ingredients.
And the finished product.
The finished product, and then obviously from all the entries, we choose the top 10. And going forward for 5 weeks, they have to meet the contestants have to meet certain challenges.
So each week is a different challenge.
And each week, at the end of that week, 2 contestants drop out until we get to the final 2.
Mm-hmm. Any chance of this kind of being done in real life time rather than online? Or by going online, you're able to reach the entire South Africa and just bring people aboard in terms of this very exciting venture?
Yes, I think if you look at Instagram, for example, and you look at the kind of food that is on there, you know, the kind of recipes that are being shared, I mean, it's phenomenal. The world of food is huge. And this is just another way of tapping into the homes of people, making them feel comfortable. They feel more comfortable in their home instead of going to a studio and cooking there, you know, and they feel creative in their space, and it doesn't exclude people. You know, it says to you, you can be anywhere. You can be based in a township as long as you have access to Instagram, or you can bake and you can contribute if you want to.
Okay, we've got 3 minutes to wrap up. Mehnaz, what would you like to add to the discussion and your advice to would-be contestants on the show currently?
Well, like I said about kids, the sky's the limit. So I'm really excited to see what they come up with. I know my own kids are excited to see what the other children are going to come up with. We need to make a video at home as well, my son and I. He's really looking forward to that. So I'm pretty sure this time it's going to be very different from the last.
Why do you have to make a video?
So because we're setting the challenge. Each judge sets the challenge. So I need to...
almost like an example of what is expected.
Exactly. So they know what we're expecting of them.
What if someone copies your, replicates exactly what you have actually
There's
made?
so much to do. I don't think they would actually need to. Yeah, there is the challenge that I'm hoping to set, I feel, is very vast, and they'd all be able to come up with something quite unique.
Where did you learn to bake as marvelously as you do?
In Botswana. I was born and brought up in Botswana, and I did a cake decorating course while I was there.
Okay, brilliant. Yeah. Wrap-up time, or what do you want to share? Let's share the excitement and all of the information that women need to be prepared for as far as the current Cook-Off 2020 is concerned.
Yes.
And how many entries are you expecting? How many entries did you get last year?
We had about 15.
Yeah.
But we're looking now for a target. We want at least 20 to start off as a base target to raise our funds to 15,000 Rand. Obviously, anything above that, we'd be super happy.
Bonus,
but there's a short window period. There's 2 weeks. So entries close on the 10th of next month of March.
And obviously, all of this is going to be covered on your magazine, Irtika, as well.
Yes, so it's on Instagram at Irtika Magazine, and all the terms and conditions and how to enter is on our website, which is www.irtika.co.za.
I'm sure you didn't have the scenario last year, but what would disqualify an entrant?
If they haven't met the brief at all. So if we've said make this and they've gone and done something completely different, then there's no criteria to judge that person then on. So,
and that's not being unkind, it's just being as fair as you possibly can.
Yes.
A few tips to our would-be cook-off contestants?
I would just say, try not to be a copycat. Try not to take a recipe from a book that you see and verbatim do that. Try and be original.
Okay. Closing remarks from you, Mehnaz?
I don't know, Nadia, what do you think?
Yeah, just go for it.
Yeah.
Put your heart and soul into it, because they say when you cook with love, the results are in the actual dish because it tastes phenomenal.
Yes.
So cook from the heart.
Yes.
Jazakallah for being with us, and good luck to an amazing Cook-Off 2020. And we'll be following you guys to see how it all turns out. And I have no doubt you're going to have some more phenomenal people entering the competition.
Inshallah.
Thank you for being with us, and Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam.
There you have it, the amazing Cook-Off people, Nadia Kassim and Mehnaz Nanuk, talking about Cook-Off 2020. And off air, Nadia's been telling me it is unimaginable the amount of amazing Muslim women in the country that are such amazing cooks and bakers for that matter. So I think our community is rich in not only culture but rich in talent. Watch the space. And my next guest, I need to get this right, is Dr. Paulo de Valdoleros. I hope that is correct. He's a medical doctor. He comes all the way from Bloemfontein with a very, very special interest in functional medicine. He's here to talk to us about viruses and immunity boosting. And I should imagine not a moment too late with the fear of coronavirus gripping the entire world. Good morning, welcome to the program.
Hello, Julie, thank you.
Did I get your name correct?
Yes.
Sorry, all these names. It's a beautiful name anyway. Thank you for being here with us. We do appreciate the fact that you've come all the way from Bloemfontein to be in studio to share your expertise with us. Now, when we talk about virus and boosting our immunity systems, we know that winter is around the corner. We also know that there is the COVID-19 scare around the world. And we also know the reality is that South Africa is not going to be protected by any ways or means from coronavirus or any other viruses and bacteria floating around. How do we build up our immunities to make sure that we're not a statistic?
Well, that is a tough question to answer from the point of view that there are many, many ways in which you can build up immunity. You have to understand what the immune system is. So your immune system is made up of physical barriers, such as your skin, for example, the mucosal lining of your respiratory system and your digestive system. It has a very sophisticated cellular and chemical system that reacts to the invaders as they invade your body if they break through the barriers I mentioned. It also has a memory system eventually, so that the second time the same invader arrives, it already has a memory, so it can produce the weapons against that specific bacteria or virus a little bit more effectively than the first time. And then, of course, it needs to clean up the tissue damage that is done during these battles, if the body recovers, obviously. Okay.
Dr. Paulo, you are a medical doctor by profession,
Yes.
but you have a very keen interest in functional medicine or alternative healing methods. Why so?
Well, primarily because specifically in terms of chronic disease and even a certain acute conditions such as infections, as you've mentioned, we need to consider the causes of the problem and not just the symptoms. So we need to be able to ask, why is this happening and what can we do about it? So that's what, in a nutshell, functional medicine is about. It's about addressing the causes. So to try and put it in a nutshell, if you have a headache, it is not because your body has a deficiency of paracetamol, okay, a painkiller. So the reason is because there may be nutritional deficiencies. There may be something that has to do with the emotional health that needs to be repaired, because that affects the chemical functioning of your body and many other reasons. So we need to consider the causes, because only by considering the causes can we address them effectively and therefore get a resolution of the challenge, the health challenge.
Talk to us more about functional medicine. What is it all about? And when you talk alternative healing, alternative medicine, herbal medications, herbal treatments, etc., and all of these alternative therapies, there's also the Chinese therapies and therapies from all around the world. Sometimes with certain sectors of the community, it is viewed very suspiciously. It's almost, viewed as possibly a scam or a money-making event. As a medical doctor, how do you view all these alternative methods of healing?
Okay, so we fortunately have a lot of research going on for quite a number of years. So we speak about evidence-based nutritional medicine. So it is based on scientific evidence, especially in the Western world where we want scientific evidence. So there's a lot of it that is based on science, based on proper research, based on proper clinical trials, all right? The challenge in terms of the substances themselves, if that's what you're referring to, in terms of obtaining the substances, is that unlike pharmaceutical drugs, these substances are not regulated, the manufacture of the substances. That is the challenge. So to determine or to find suppliers or manufacturers that follow pharmaceutical guidelines of manufacturing is not easy for the public to determine, but it is possible to do so if you consult a health practitioner that is knowledgeable.
Immune system and the coronavirus care. Are you very concerned about it, the coronavirus? We do know that we're going to be hit as well, possibly very hard. And how does one protect oneself? How do you build up your immune system?
All right, so the coronavirus is another one of those viruses that has jumped from animals to human. It is very similar to the SARS virus that we had in 2002, 2003. It is about 80% similar to it in terms of its genetic coding. And as of yesterday, there were some 87,000 cases, about 2,700 odd deaths. According to the World Health Organization, they are concerned that the tipping point, in other words, the point at which we realize we can't contain it, may be close, which means it would become a pandemic. In other words, it could spread throughout the entire world. Just a few basic facts, I think, which are important. The average age is somewhere around 45 to 60 in terms of people that are becoming ill. The sort of median age of the ones that are unfortunately passing away is higher. It's higher than 75. That doesn't mean that nobody younger has passed away, but the general age. So these people unfortunately have had other comorbidities. They've got other diseases. And that's one of the problems with immunity. So if you have chronic conditions, such as diabetes and many others.
I'm thinking HIV/AIDS, I'm thinking cancers.
Yes, but those are classic. Mm-hmm. Everybody will realize that, yes, your immune system is compromised if you are HIV positive or if you have cancer. But if you have any long-term chronic condition, if you have...
For example?
Such as diabetes, Alzheimer's, rheumatoid arthritis. Because remember, all these conditions tax your body and they tax your immune system because they invariably involve it. Rheumatoid arthritis, for example, is an autoimmune disease.
Right.
So your immune system is actually attacking your own tissue.
Absolutely.
Which means it doesn't have the soldiers or the resources to defend itself against something else that's coming from the outside. So obviously poorly nourished people in any way whatsoever will have more susceptible immune systems to infection. So to boost the immune system, generally speaking, obviously diet is very important because for your immune system to function, it requires building blocks. It requires chemical substrates, as we call it, raw materials, which we give names to, vitamins, minerals, essential fatty acids, and so on. So it needs raw material in order to function properly. Okay, and that obviously initially comes from diet. Okay, so that which is very, very important. Correct.
We have our food sources, we are told, are very compromised. The soil conditions are very compromised as well.
Correct.
So we need to find supplements from other sources.
Unfortunately, as you've just said, the soils are compromised. The soils do not contain the minerals that they should contain. There are other factors, for example.
Pesticides.
Pesticides are one, but even fertilizers, which are used to create a bigger crop. For example, fertilizers mostly contain a lot of potassium, and that antagonizes magnesium, which means the plant cannot absorb as much magnesium as it would have. There's already very little magnesium in the ground compared to what there used to be before. The grounds are not rested. In the United States, we know, because they keep good figures, about 85% of the population is magnesium deficient. Mm-hmm. And I'm just picking up on that mineral, which is an essential cofactor. In other words, it's involved in chemical reactions in the body, which are crucial to the entire functioning, but specifically to the immune system. So those make it quite big challenges to try and acquire all the nutrition you require from food alone. So depending on one's personal health situation, supplementation is almost unavoidable. At which rate you supplement, that depends on each person individually, because you can do it for preventative reasons, as I would now, for example, make sure that my immune system is in tip-top condition, not just because of the coronavirus, but because I'm a doctor and winter's coming and all my patients bring me their viruses and bacteria as gifts.
Absolutely.
Okay, so I would do that for preventative purposes. On the other hand, if you already have an infection, if we're talking about this kind of condition, then you need to look at supplementation for curative purposes, a therapeutic purpose, which means especially the doses could not be the same. You understand what I'm saying?
I'm wondering also about people who are heavy drinkers and heavy smokers. They really are very compromised.
Their immune systems are really compromised. Yes.
Okay, we'll talk more about that right after the ad break. Dr. Paolo, all the way from Bloemfontein, is here to talk to us about immune systems and specifically the coronavirus, which I have no doubt in my mind is going to be hitting us and hitting us really hard this coming winter. What are we to do? What do we put in place to defend ourselves against this scourge and to be healthy thereafter? Welcome back. I'm talking to Dr. Paolo. He's visiting us all the way from Bloemfontein, and we truly appreciate it. He's made the effort to be here, especially for the interview. So we're talking virus and immunity boosting tricks. And of course, the type of supplements one should be taking during this time of year. But I suppose it's not only this time of year, it's all year round, isn't it? I mean, you can't just wait for autumn to set in or the beginning of winter and then decide I have to do something for myself. Run off and get a flu shot, a flu vaccine, and think you're good to go.
No, you can't do that. Remember, your immune system, you are constantly being attacked. And we have angled it from the infection point of view, but remember your immune system has a second and very important function, and that is to get rid of precancerous cells.
Oh, so everybody does this go across the board, even if I don't have a history of cancer in my family?
Yeah, even if you don't, because remember, unfortunately, due to many reasons, for which we don't have time to discuss, there will always be, because your cells are constantly dividing, different tissue cells at different rates, but that division process goes haywire every now and then. We call that a DNA adduct, so it's a precancerous cell. Your immune system is supposed to detect it, break up the cell, and reuse the material. And if that detection is not done correctly, that precancerous cell may turn into a cancer cell, whether you are genetically susceptible or not. So in other words, genetic susceptibility or having cancer in the family, certain cancers, just increases your risk of something happening.
Okay, so you're not free.
Yeah, you're not free. Yes.
All right. The flu vaccine that I alluded to just now is also important over and above what you're going to be talking about. The population that is at risk should still go ahead and have the flu vaccines.
Yes, that's a general guideline from the World Health Organization. So especially the elderly, people with a number of chronic conditions, sometimes even regardless of their age, diabetics, for example, their immune systems are...
Smokers.
Smokers, of course. You know, the young immunocompromised people, such as HIV-positive people and so on, cancer patients, yes, they should take the flu vaccine. That's the general, because even though the flu vaccine has, the concept is that, remember, it is based on last year's viruses, okay? Because nobody knows exactly what this year's viruses are going to be. So it has somewhere around a 43% chance of targeting the expected virus. The overall benefit is in population across the world is probably about 11%. But for the groups at risk, at major risk, people who are asthmatic, for example, okay, it is good that they would get the flu vaccine. Yes.
So going forward, taking the right steps, and now would be the right time to start building your immune system. Apart from the flu vaccine, what else are we to do? And in terms of supplements, there are lots of schools of thought that believe that we don't need supplements, but you've just outlined that our food systems are very compromised, our lifestyles are very compromised, and thus we do need the necessary supplements to build us up. What would they be? How do I know, or how would I know that I'm taking the right stuff?
Well, from a scientific point of view, we know that the immune system in particular requires certain natural substances to function effectively. Vitamin A, vitamin C, vitamin E, vitamin B6. It requires zinc, manganese, copper. So these are specific vitamins and minerals which we know are involved in the functioning of the immune system. All right. There are other areas of your body, for example, steroid hormones that are manufactured by your adrenal glands. One of them is known as DHEA, and that has an incredible effect on immunity, on boosting immunity. Now, for your body, in order for your body to manufacture this hormone, it requires building blocks as well. So the school of thought that says we don't require supplementation, in a sense, negates the fact that our body is a biological body, our physical body that works with biological natural substances. So the question to be answered is, does your body have enough magnesium, coenzyme Q10, and so on? I mean, we can go through a couple of hundred substances.
There's no way of knowing whether you are vitamin deficient or something.
Yes. Of course, there are ways of knowing. And that brings us to a very interesting topic, because there is what we call overt deficiency. So if you take vitamin C, the extreme deficiency would be what my ancestors had 600 years ago when they came down to Africa in boats. Goodness, it's under my tongue. Scurvy, that's it. Mm-hmm. Okay, and where they would bleed through their gums, some of them would bleed internally and die. That's an extreme deficiency. But you can have a relative deficiency. So in other words, you don't go from good stores of vitamin C, which is an incorrect term. Vitamin C is not really stored, but you don't go from having enough vitamin C all the way to nothing. So there is a gradual level. So you are then gradually becoming deficient, or you can be relatively deficient. Same with magnesium and with any other substance.
I guess it can only get picked up via blood tests.
Some of them can be picked up, some of them not.
And how many blood tests can one undergo to check on all of those levels?
Some of these things can't be picked up. Mm-hmm. So in other words, the overt deficiency symptoms are not a good indicator of whether you are deficient or not, relatively deficient. Okay, because if you look at chronic conditions, for example, most chronic conditions, by the time they reach what we call a clinical endpoint, in other words, by the time that I can diagnose you based on signs and symptoms in my practice, you have had the condition for 10, 20, 30 years. Mm. Okay, so in other words, the dysfunction of your body systems has been there for a very long time. So the body tries at all costs to stay alive. It tries to ward off death. It tries to keep balance, but it eventually can't do it anymore. There's some kind of threshold that is reached, and that is dependent on, of course, your diet, your environment, your life, your habits, and everything else. So in order to build up your immune system, exercise is obviously important. Look, it's all the things that we've been told all the time. A good diet, which is not hamburgers and chips 3 times a day. Okay,
and all the sweet stuff that we ingest.
And all the sweet stuff, yes. Mm-hmm. And then there are specific substances, natural substances, that have been shown in proper scientific research to boost the immune system. Okay, and one of them is a mushroom extract. It's a shiitake, a Japanese mushroom extract. And what it does, and many of these substances, so in other words, they're very effective in infections, not because they target the specific organism, be it a virus or a bacteria that is infecting the body, but because they modulate the immune system. That's almost like tuning a radio to the right station.
Okay.
You know, you get a lot of static, and all of a sudden you're in the right wavelength, and you can hear the radio station properly. And that's what these substances do, because your immune system has got specific set ways of responding to an infection. And these substances cause that response to become so much more effective. And that's obviously an important part of boosting your immune system.
So how you're going to tell us what the substance is called? Because obviously you can't be eating tons and tons of the shiitake mushroom to get, to get the benefit, obviously.
Yeah, it is an extract. Mm-hmm. So it's an extract from a cultured mushroom. And like all other extracts, for you to consume the same with real food, for example, there is a very well-known extract for hormonal health, which is extracted from broccoli. And a 600 milligram capsule requires 5 kilograms of broccoli for extraction. So it makes it a little bit difficult to consume.
Absolutely.
But the shiitake mushroom was developed the extract is developed in Japan. Over 80 independent institutions across the world have done more than 30 clinical trials and more than 100 published studies on it. And it has been shown, for example, the HPV virus, you're familiar with it, there is no medical drug that can eradicate the virus from an infected woman.
Apart from
the vaccine.
A vaccine that's been introduced recently.
But the vaccine is to prevent the infection.
Okay.
If someone already has the infection,
What does she do?
we can't use the vaccine.
Absolutely.
And this specific substance has been shown to eradicate the virus, the HPV virus from the body, to wash it out, if you will.
Okay. Do we know if it's effective as far as the coronavirus is concerned? And what is it called and where does one obtain it? What is this magical preparation
yeah. Okay,
you're
so
talking?
it's not magical, but it's highly efficient. It's known as AHCC, which
And
stands for Activated Exos Correlated Compound.
Okay.
AHCC. It's a patented compound, and it is available as a health supplement product.
Over the counter?
It's available over the counter, so it should be available in health shops. Some health practitioners will carry it as well. And it is available in South Africa. And whether it is effective against the coronavirus, remember that the coronavirus is so recent, there's been no time to actually test anything. But we know that it is effective against the West Nile virus, the HPV virus, the influenza B virus, hepatitis virus. So in other words, it has shown to really build up, boost and strengthen one's immune system. Okay, so it would be something that I would consider taking myself. All right. So for research to deal with the specific virus that we seem to be facing now, that will take quite a while.
Absolutely. I believe about 18 months.
It's like the development of a vaccine. Remember I think the Ebola vaccine took 20 years to develop?
Yeah. And we're still sitting with cases of Ebola in the Congo. But that having been said, this is what you're talking about, AHCC.
Yeah, that's the local...
Does one take it? When do you start? How effective is it without meals? Let's look at the age group that it's targeted at.
Okay, so basically anybody could take it, okay, except maybe babies and very young children. The only people that must not really take it are those that are on immunosuppressing therapy. So someone who's waiting for a transplant, for example, where we suppress their immune system so they don't reject the organ, those people should not take it. Otherwise, anybody else can take it. The recommended doses by the researchers are about 1,000 milligrams daily if you're just taking for preventative reasons. If there's no infection present, you can go up to 6,000 milligrams. There has never been, throughout all the research, any occasions of any interaction with any other medication that one may be taking. No adverse side effects at all. Because it has other functions besides boosting the immune system, for example, it assists in the gut in terms of the microbiome, your friendly bacteria that live in the gut. It is recommended that one takes it on an empty stomach rather than with food, but even if you take it with food, your immune system will still benefit.
And it won't react with other medication that you might be on or any other supplements?
Not at all. Remember, research has been ongoing since 1992, so it's not something that started 6 weeks ago.
So that's the good news. You buy this over the counter. What else is recommended to build up our immunity? So this will become a daily standard in our lives.
Yes, that can be,
once
as long
per
as you
day.
can afford it, obviously.
Right. What else do we do? Very especially with the scare of coronavirus around the corner. Okay,
so as I said earlier, I mentioned a couple of vitamins and minerals, so a very good quality multivitamin mineral should be in everybody's... Should be a standard thing, unfortunately. And then, of course, specific requirements will depend on specific conditions.
Would you suggest, with 2 minutes to wrap up time, as a medical doctor yourself with an interest in obviously functional medicine, would you suggest that before one decides to go on AHCC or any other multivitamins, almost get a clean bill from your doctor or a thumbs up to say, yes, you have these following conditions or you're recovering from A, B or C condition, but it would be a good idea if you supplement it with the following vitamins, including AHCC.
Look, the challenge there is that, and I say this with all due respect, the majority of medical doctors will have no knowledge about natural supplementation. All right. The other thing is that a normal multivitamin, for the vast majority of people, multivitamin, multimineral, you do not require a clean bill of health, as you say. In fact, most of us don't have a clean bill of health, because health is a relative concept. Because lurking somewhere, even though you're 35 and 40 and you feel healthy, but chronic conditions are already in the background, and that is why they say hello when you turn 45 or 50. Okay, so there are a few challenges to that approach. So most natural supplementation, especially if one has done a little bit of homework and seen that it cannot have any adverse effects, doesn't require any approval by a health practitioner in order for you to start taking it. On the other hand, if one wants to do that as a member of the public, then you've got to find a healthcare practitioner that is knowledgeable and that can help you with decision making.
And it's almost wrap-up time. Final words from you.
Well, everyone should be boosting their immune systems. It is difficult to make any predictions about the coronavirus. The current containment measures don't seem to be working effectively, so it could develop into a pandemic. We have to keep on watching it on a day-to-day basis.
Please, God, let it not go there. I've been told it's there already, but who knows? And that's where we leave it with Dr. Paulo. He, as I've said, come all the way from Bloemfontein to honor us with his presence here to talk about building up the immune system. And remember, it's called AHCC. That's an over-the-counter preparation, and it is obviously derived from the shiitake mushroom. And that's what all the healthcare experts are saying. Maybe we should go along with them and see how we can build up our immune systems. In a short while, we'll be joined by Justin Jacobs to talk youth empowerment. Once again, thanks to Dr. Paulo for his expertise on the show this morning. Welcome to the final segment of the show this morning. We're talking to a young man, a very passionate young man. His name is Justin Jacobs, and he's here to talk youth empowerment. And we know that as far as jobs for youth are concerned, it's a huge problem in our country. I think not only for youth, just jobs in general. As you and I speak this morning, the unemployment rate sits at 30%. That's an absolutely frightening figure. But let's hear how Justin Jacobs and his group of supporters are trying to make a difference in our different communities as far as youth empowerment is concerned. Morning, welcome to the program.
Good morning, thank you so much for having me.
Lovely to have you here.
Thank
now,
you.
I know you are a graduate of AFTA.
Yes, I am.
Tell us what AFTA is all about and why you chose to study at AFTA, and what did you study?
Okay, so AFTA is the School of the Creative Economy.
Creative arts.
Creative arts, yes. We have the platform of studying film, TV and live performance to use that as a form of job creation for ourselves. And AFTA focuses on developing the artistic side of any artist who comes to AFTA, whichever form of film they want to study, whichever form of live performance, whichever form of TV, yeah. So art in general. And we focus on making art better and allowing art to create jobs in South Africa. Like you said, 30% is a real scary rate in South Africa at the moment. So I believe that AFTA has been successful in that, because a lot of our alumni are creating so many jobs in the industry at the moment. Yeah.
That's amazing. So you studied there for about 4 years, and you are still involved with them.
Yes, I am.
Tell us about your role at
So
AFTA.
I have 2 degrees at the moment. I have my BA in live performance at AFTA, and I have my honours now in live performance at AFTA. And then I recently joined as the student affairs officer at AFTA. So I deal with all the students. I deal with everything that the students deal with. I make sure that they have a good transition from high school into the university space. We make sure that we tackle every issue that they come with, because there is a big jump from high school to university at the moment. So getting them into the working space of what university looks like, what is expected from them, especially in the field of studying for a degree. So I work very closely with a lot of students, and it's been a very exciting journey so far.
So working so closely with the students sounds almost like a full-time job.
Yeah.
What about your degrees? When are you going to put what you've learned into practice and become an entrepreneur yourself?
Okay, so I already have been working in the industry myself. I've been working on the GUMAs, which is South Africa's Afrikaans Awards. Worked with them, did some stage managing with them, under the view of our lecturers at AFTA. So when I studied there, I already got into the industry through contacts with my degree. So in March, I'll be releasing my own artistic views on my life. So I'm really excited about that. But I'm also using that in my own personal capacity right now on social media, using that to advocate for youth development and making sure that the youth know that there is a space for creative artists in South Africa.
Social media is big.
Yes.
People join or go onto social media to tell their stories and to support causes that are close to their hearts. How does that impact on the arts? Because anyone can become, with the right target market and the right address and the right message, they can become overnight successes. How do they compete with people like you that have spent 4 years of your life in an institution like AFTA?
Okay.
The competition sounds like it's pretty stiff.
It is, and especially in the arts. South Africa, our artistic side is booming at the moment. We are recognized worldwide at the moment. So there is a huge market for us. Yes, there is. But
saying that there's jobs aplenty all around the world, is that what you're suggesting?
I'm suggesting that there are. It's just a matter of creating them. Because a lot of jobs at the moment are very close-minded when it comes to the artistic side. Because if you do not have the right contacts to get into the arts, it will be deemed difficult for you. But that's why I think studying what I did and understanding how to create my own economy as an artist has made it so successful for me. Because now I know all the back ends of how to get into the industry and how to make sure that I use my personal capacity to create that for myself. And I think social media, as you said, is a very big platform because of one thing. It creates the ability to be seen by so many people. And if you use it to the correct ability and you know how to use social media for the bettering of yourself as well as your art, as well as you as a person, you can be an overnight success. Justin Bieber's an overnight success. A lot of artists that is in South Africa right now, overnight success. We're talking about social media.
Just via social media.
Just via social media. Using posts to amplify them, using comedy, using awareness to amplify what they stand for has gotten the eye of a lot of South Africans, a lot of youth. And because of that, the numbers have boomed overnight. They become overnight successes. A lot of people want to work with them. A lot of artists want to work with them. And because of that, the creation of jobs is starting to build up more prominently right now.
What's frightening is the suggestion that you need to have the right contacts. And I think that is kind of almost standard in any industry that you're working
Unfortunately.
in. It's not, people often say it's not what you know, it's who you know.
Yeah.
I believe it's what you know and who you know that's going to open doors for you.
Yeah.
But the who you know is the frightening part because you may know the right stuff, but because you don't know the right people, you won't be able to get in the door. Very frustrating, isn't it?
Really is.
How do you overcome that barrier?
You see, that's the difficult part of being an artist. The one thing is they teach you from the word go. If you know people, you know how to get to people. And by meeting somebody today might mean that you'll be meeting a lot of industry people tomorrow. And that's the nice part of being in the arts industry. It's all about networking. If you do not network yourself, trust and believe that you're not going to get anywhere. Because it's by networking yourself that you get to meet so many other people. But the frightening part of it is sometimes you do not have the access to that. And that's where the conversation leads to. Where do we get the access from? Where do we get the ability to meet these artists, to go on social media? If we are poor, if we do not have the abilities and the capabilities of so many other artists.
Or the access.
Yeah. What do we do then? And I believe that's where the advocacy for youth is starting to play a big part. By allowing certain universities to get involved. Going to them, doing activations at the campus. The arts faculty at WITS and at UJ and at UP, UCT are really doing amazing things. And I think by using that to do activations, by bringing so many artists onto the campus, allows for the networking space to be opened up. And that's why I think it's really important for a lot of people to get involved with artists and artists to get involved with a lot of people. But not only in the sector of being in an art institution. I'm talking about other networking opportunities, social media gatherings, YouTube gatherings. I'm talking about going to certain conferences that you can meet people, bloggers, motivational speakers, because they do essentially have the connections in the industry that can open a door for you as an artist. But it is frightening that if you don't have the ability, that you can't get anywhere.
Now, we talk about all of these faculties throughout the country at all the big universities. And I'm kind of wondering how many artists do we churn out on an annual basis, most of them being 3 or 4 year courses.
Yeah.
Is our industries in South Africa, we're a relatively small country. I think
Yeah.
at the last census we were sitting at 55 or 60 million people.
Okay.
Is South Africa big enough to absorb and create opportunities for all of these people coming out?
Yeah.
That's what's very frightening.
Yes.
So you spend X amount of money and X amount of time following your passion, following your dream.
Yes.
But what are you going to get when you come out
You come
of
out
that?
of it, yeah. I think that's also a very difficult topic at the moment because there aren't as many opportunities as there were before. We're going into the fourth industrial revolution. We are looking at everything being more modernized. We're looking at everything being more socialized. Everything is on social media. Jobs that used to be a big thing are now being taken over by robotics. So I think the major part in this conversation, that is what we need to have with the bigger powers that be, is how then do we make a space for the artists, for people who want to go into this venture of being social media influencers and artists in the field of bringing awareness to any field of art, is to make sure that we understand that the numbers are really big. Like you're saying, it's frightening. Every year, the universities cough up thousands of graduates in the art field, in the social media field, in the psychological field, and there's no jobs. And that's the question that we're trying to tackle as youth. What do we do then when there's no jobs? I believe you create them yourself.
Are the universities not then perhaps misleading our youth? Are they not assessing the needs of the country and then offering those type of courses to the youth, almost guaranteeing them jobs at the end of their tenure at varsity, rather than just rolling out all of these courses big time, and then at the end of term there's nothing to go to.
There's nothing to go to.
Hold that thought, let's go for an ad break.
Yeah.
I'm talking to Justin Jacobs about the world of art. He studied at AFTA, and we're talking about opportunities, obviously for people coming out of the School of Arts, but importantly, we're also going to be looking at youth empowerment. Welcome back.
Thank you so much.
Kind of frightening and frustrating at the same time
Yeah.
when we look at the issue around art schools and what happens to the people that come out of these schools at the end of term. It's not all doom and gloom, that we do know.
Yes.
We've also been told that Hollywood and Bollywood and Nollywood tend to come to South Africa because it's a very exotic location to do all of their filming, etc. So there is a space for employment, but it's not necessarily guaranteed to the scores of people coming out of the institutions.
Yes. I will touch on one topic. I believe that education is extremely powerful, whichever sphere it is in. If you educate yourself, you are better knowing this world, you're better understanding what this world can offer and how you can use it to the best of your ability. When you look at the artists coming into South Africa, like you say, all these artists come from all over the world. We've had the biggest names in the industry come into South Africa, shooting, to film, to network, to find spaces like that. And I think that's where we can capitalize on. If our government, and this is my personal view on things, if our government can capitalize on that and allow the artists of every university or every faculty that focuses on the arts to come and either be in a session with them, or to sit around them, or to hear their experiences, or to meet the people they meet.
Or even become extras on the set.
Yeah, I believe that is where the key is, because like I said, connection, communication is always key.
All right, you talk youth empowerment, you talk about upskilling them, you talk about working closely with youngsters to create their own opportunities. What sort of opportunities can they create for themselves? Apart from, all right, we spoke long and hard about social media networks. You've also said to me that if you have an Instagram page, or if you're a blogger or whatever have you, you can make money out of that, depending on the number of followers.
Yes.
But only so many people can be absorbed into that space as well.
Yeah.
It sounds very gloomy, I know.
It does, yes.
But that's the reality.
It is. But you must also understand that our youth today, because of the fourth industrial revolution, we are very much into the technology of today. So technology comes with being exposed to such social media platforms, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and Twitter, which has become a monetized platform to create a business for yourself. We've seen it in so many South African bloggers now that have been started out on social media and has taken it to TV networks now because of the creation that they've made. And what I want to focus on is the importance of knowing the ability that you have with technology. You have a camera, you have a phone, well, not everybody, but when you have that to your disposal, what are you doing with it? What can you do with it? You can create something that in turn puts you as that artist or that person, whichever field you're in, on the board, on the platform, on letting people see who you are as an artist. And by using that, it's been monetized. It's being cultured now that that is a platform where you can create your own job for yourself. But I also believe that it starts at home. If our parents create a platform of understanding their kids, understanding how art works, and understanding that there is not going to be jobs permanently. There is not a job for everybody permanently. Everybody gets replaced somehow. And I believe that if we create the culture at home of understanding, you are an artist. What do we do then? How does mom and daddy help you? Do we put up shows on our own personal basis with the friends and family we have? Do we create a platform of getting to know a lot of people? Even if it's in the business sector, how do we then connect? How do we put you on adverts? How do we connect to the different banks and get you to see how things work as the business aspect of art? And then that's where it will start. By creating that atmosphere, that platform, that it makes it more easier to have this conversation as artists to your parents.
What are you doing directly in terms of promoting youth empowerment? And you're not necessarily only working with youth at AFTA, I should imagine, with people in the townships as well.
Am. So I've been exposed because of my mom to a lot of community projects, to a lot of community where my mom does a lot of counseling with youths and feeding schemes and all of those things. And because of that, I've been exposed to see how things work outside of this industry that I am in. So on my personal capacity, the beginning of 2019 was a great start for me. I joined the Volunteers for UNICEF, which have created a platform bigger than me as a person. And I've made sure that I use the connection that I got through them to create a culture of advocacy in my own personal capacity with my own family. And by using my friends to do the same thing, I've allowed that as a space to make sure that my page, me as a person, myself as an artist, speaks about youth advocacy. We do go out and do the hard labor. If I tell you I go to schools, I sit, I talk to them, I talk to the kids about using the ability to speak more about advocacy, about upskilling the youth and making sure that they know that education is key. So when they leave school, they can create anything they put their minds to. And I believe that is the key. So in my own personal capacity, I love working on the ground. I'm a really hardworking person.
Tell us more about UNICEF, being a volunteer with UNICEF. What exactly is your role there?
So with UNICEF in 2019, when I joined them, we are the Volunteers for Youth Advocacy. We focus on advocating for the youth. So using our social media platform with a lot of artists to create a platform to have conversations about that, and using the fourth industrial revolution as it stands now to the best of our ability to create that as a platform to speak more about it.
Is it upskilling and positive messaging?
Yes, at all points of what we do. At the moment, there is nothing negative that we can post right now because our country, as we know, is not in a good space with finances, with the job creation. And we've heard so many disturbing stories about the killings of young girls and the youth dying so fast. And what we're doing is making sure that our social media and the positivity we put out there is to know that there's a place, there's a platform to change, to create, to change the atmosphere, to make sure that the platform that we're sitting with becomes something of a positive nature. Because South Africa right now, everybody looks at it as we're going downhill. But if we look at it on the other side, there's so many positive things we can focus on.
A very worrying trend that has surfaced recently is bullying in the schoolyard and killings of school children. And just a few days ago, we've heard about 2 possible kidnappings in Johannesburg. The one was at the Lantern School outside of Roodepoort, and the other one is at the school, Queen's School out on the East Rand, I think Jeppe or some such place. So there's a whole lot of nefarious characters around. There's the fear of kidnapping, and then there's the fear of bullying and child killings in the schoolyards.
Yeah.
What do you, as a youth empowerment representative, go out and talk to these youngsters in the schools about? Because what is driving young people as young as 10 and above, going with weapons to school and actually killing people, hurting them and killing them?
You know, the first thing I would say is bullying is wrong. It will never be condoned. It cannot be condoned because it creates the atmosphere for violence. And I believe, point number 1, it starts at home. It starts at home. The atmosphere and the environment that you grow up in always have a positive or negative impact on you. Hence, I said before, when you create the platform at home for positivity, positivity will then loom from your kids at school. And if it's created at home and we have the conversation, bullying is wrong, killing is wrong, doing anything associated with crime is wrong. When you put that in a child's mind when they're young and you stress it enough, believe that when they're older, that's not going to leave them. And I think that when we have this conversation at home about preschoolers, about kids, about weapons, first of all, we need to make sure that they understand what is right and what is wrong and the responsibility that comes with either choice. And that is where the conversation will lead to. And I believe that as a country, we need to have that conversation more pertinently. We cannot have our government just say, we are strengthening the laws and we're doing A, B, and C, but nothing is being rolled out on the floor, the groundwork. Is there more security measures at school for kids? Are there more psychologists available for kids when they are struggling and having difficulties at home or having difficulties in their personal life? Do we have the platform to ask them, are you emotionally okay? Is there an emotional well-being attached to you right now?
So what you are also saying, what I'm hearing is that every school, regardless of whether they're in the township or in the suburbs, needs to have possibly youth empowerment ambassadors like yourself and psychologists to help kids through all their problems, all the issues.
Yes, that is as important as waking up in the morning. For one thing, if you want the future of a country to loom forward, it lies with the youth. You cannot have the older generation leading youth. Youth needs to lead youth. And when the youth understands how things work in our country and we give them the opportunity to have access to psychologists, to speak about their problems and not just shy away from it and say, let's put the emotions aside right now and let's just focus on you academically while at school. And you get kids who get into the university space and cannot cope and then start losing their mind, start
or
turning
at school
to,
because they don't know how to deal with conflict situations and then they result
into violence because that's the first thing that they can do.
We've got a minute left to wrap up. As a youth empowerment advocate yourself, what are you going to do in this space? I know of a lot of clinical and social psychologists that are unemployed. Why don't you get them on board and let them go and do some voluntary work at different schools?
A lot of people don't want to just volunteer time because obviously where's the money coming from? And that's why I will link it back to asking our government to give more funds in that regard. If volunteers are coming on, there must be something that they can get, something that would...
A stipend.
Yes, because that is essentially what needs to happen. But so far as getting them to work together with schools, with youths and stuff, I believe the opportunity is there.
It's absolutely vital.
Yes,
it's vital.
We need it.
Unfortunately, that's where we're going to leave it. Lovely talking to you.
Thank you so much.
Nice to know that there's young people that have the type of thinking that you have.
Thank you.
You very definitely are going to lead our youth in the right direction.
Thank you so much for having me. Thank you.
And there you have it, ending on hopefully a high note with Justin Jacobs talking youth empowerment. It's not only up to people like him, it's up to you and I and every South African citizen to roll up their sleeves and get stuck in the issues of the day to start making a difference, to truly reclaim our schools and our country. And on that note then, time to wrap up. Thank you indeed for your company. Take care on the roads And as always, till the next time, Khudafez from me, Julie Alli.